Welcome to Thunder Live on FanDuel Sports Network, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. What a game we had here in the Bay. The Thunder taking on the Golden State Warriors and walking away victorious 124-112, but not without a fourth quarter battle. For the fourth straight game, the Thunder having to fight in the fourth quarter to walk away victorious, but OKC stringing together some clutch time plays led by a clutch time player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with some critical plays down the stretch, and Oklahoma City walks away with their 13th consecutive win. As we welcome you back inside of Chase Center and into Thunder Live, I'm Paris Lawson, alongside the Thunder's very own Royce Young. And Royce, this is exactly why the Thunder loves going through different experiences. You have those games like the game against the Portland Trail Blazers, the Phoenix Suns, the Minnesota Timberwolves, all games where you have to really grit it out, make clutch plays down the stretch in the fourth quarter, and you can see the Thunder applying those lessons in real time.
No doubt about it. And look, yes, the Thunder probably would have liked to have run away with this when they built up a 20-point lead. And to the Warriors' credit, they did a great job with no Jimmy Butler, who was out in the second half. They scored 44 points in that third quarter. Some of it, I think, was a little bit random. You know, the half-court shot by Podziemski. There was a banked-in three by Gary Payton. But the Thunder also let things slip a little bit. So I think you could take a lesson from that. And then also, like you said, Paris, you know, with this building really come alive and the Warriors took the lead twice late in the fourth quarter, and for the Thunder to just demonstrate that composure, that is a muscle that they have really worked on and built up. They didn't overreact, and they didn't take bad shots. They continued to work the problem. They started getting stops down the stretch, and they let the defense and the offense complement one another. And, of course, SGA, my goodness. I mean, it's just kind of like, yeah, he did it again is what he does.
What else is there to say about a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who can come in and make some critical plays, but he wasn't the only one. 3 players finished with over 20 points in this game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander obviously leading the way with another 30-plus point performance, but then you also have J-Dub with a really nice game in this one. You see the offense starting to come back for him a little bit, and Chet Holmgren as well, finishing above 20.
Great call on Dub. You know, Dub looked more comfortable. His touch was there a little bit. Chet had a number of big plays, was great in the pick and roll game. Another player didn't necessarily have the stats in this one. I thought Jay Will was great down the stretch, specifically on the defensive glass. He had some tough rebounds in traffic. I thought Jay Will was huge in this one.
Yeah, a lot of great contributors in this game for Oklahoma City to walk away with their 13th straight win and improve to 21-1 on the season. Great stuff for OKC. All right, let's bring in our good friends Chris Fisher and Michael Cage, who are up in the catbird seat for us tonight, calling all the action.
Yeah, thank you, Paris. Tonight's the beauty of the NBA. Oklahoma City, best team in the NBA, best record, 12 consecutive wins, Michael. They build out a 22-point lead. The Warriors don't have Stephen Curry or Jimmy Butler. You're thinking this might be one of those games that gets away, but that wasn't the case. Golden State came back roaring in the third quarter, massive 44 points. All of a sudden, we got a game. All of a sudden, Golden State takes the lead, but this OKC team knows how to settle things down, find calmer waters, and they were the better team down the stretch.
Well, the Thunder had as large as a 22-point lead. You didn't panic. And, you know, my brother was texting me just now after the game, and you would have saw me on my phone if you had came here a few seconds early before Paris threw it to us. He said, you know what I like about this team? They don't panic. And I was thinking about it. I said, you know what? I agree. They don't panic. How many times can you lose a 22-point lead on the road, hostile environment, and then you turn around and fight your way back and win by 12 points. Paris Lawson just laid it out. The numbers were impressive. 3 guys over 20 points. You know, Shai was brilliant. I'm talking brilliant. Maybe one of his finer games we've seen all season, folks. 5 of 6 from downtown. J-Dub just hitting some daggers, too, down the stretch. Chet was just solid throughout all 4 quarters. The bench stepped in. They made the key stops when they needed to. It's hard to keep a lead against a really good team like the Warriors for that long, but at the same time, you know they're going to make a run at you some point in time. They did it in that third quarter. The Thunder didn't panic. They took control in the crunch time, under 5 minutes.
It was nice to see so many different guys stepping up, too, in that second half. Obviously, the offense of SGA, really, really good. And we look at some of these numbers, Michael. The turnovers, Golden State lose the turnover battle. Points in the paint, that was a consistent theme throughout the course of the night. But the Thunder, Michael, they shoot it at 58%. They were getting what they wanted on the offensive end.
Yeah, you go 15 to 32 from downtown, and 58% shooting on the road, most of the time you're going to win that ball game. And also the Thunder did a good job too of turning over the Warriors. They got 23 points off turnovers. So, and they got a lot of those turnovers at the right time when it was under 5 minutes left in the ball game.
So what was a pedestrian first half turned into a wild second half, and one that certainly the Thunder can look back on. They can learn some things, but they played well enough down the stretch to pull out win number 13 in a row.
Impeccable poise by this Thunder squad on the road, enemy territory, after losing a 22-point lead. Incredible stuff. Great breakdown. Chris and Mike, we appreciate you guys as always. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that fourth quarter because there really was a lot happening. The Warriors had already kind of whittled down that Thunder deficit to single digits, even took a lead, even tied the game. I mean, there was so much back and forth action. And to their point, a lot of poise, a lot of composure. Oklahoma City not overreacting, but weathering that storm and just continuing to stick to their identity, which is getting stops defensively.
And I even think the way that the Warriors made their comeback could have rattled some teams, with it being, Pat Spencer, kind of an unsung guy knocking down shots, Seth Curry in a big kind of emotional night back with the Warriors and, Steph's brother. But the Thunder just stayed composed. That was a huge shot by Isaiah Joe. Don't overlook that one. Of course, SGA getting to his spots was so impressive. This was a great finish by Dub. We've seen this so much from him. This is a good example, Paris, of some of that touch coming back for him. And then this shot right here, especially late in games, feels almost automatic for Shai, the way that he can get to it. But Thunder did a great job in transition. This was after a big stop, a run out, kick ahead by SGA to Casey Wallace, kind of shut the door right there on the Warriors. But again, what we saw there was just kind of the precision of the Thunder. Again, go back to that Isaiah Joe three in the corner. That was coming out of a timeout. The Warriors had a lot of momentum going, and the Thunder just calmly generated a wide open corner three for their best shooter. And Isaiah Joe knocked it down. So the precision OKC played with in that fourth quarter was really impressive.
Precision execution down the stretch. That is not easy to do when you are on the road in enemy territory. And let me tell you, it got loud inside of this building, inside of Chase Center. All right, let's get you over to the press room so we can hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault and his takeaways on tonight's win.
Mark, you often talk about, and the guys do too, getting the car back on the road, and it seemed like you all eventually got to that place. But tell me about that intervening time and the way the group stuck together until you got to that point.
Yeah, we had to do it against Portland on Sunday too, where we just weren't playing our best. But there's still time left on the clock and time left in the game. And you have an opportunity to course correct at that point. And I thought in both games we did that. It is an important skill. It's not a position we want to put ourselves in as a habit. But I thought the group to start the fourth quarter did a nice job of stabilizing the game, playing our way. We didn't get much separation there, but it kind of got the game back under control, made them earn everything that they got. And then we were able to outlast them. But that should be a good lesson for us.
It seemed like late, especially the last 6 minutes or so, every time you got a paint touch on offense, you got something really good. Is it a pretty stark difference for you all and something very intentional in those moments, particularly against zone, where you got to get at least one touch in the paint?
Yeah, I thought, our attacks, especially down the stretch, were really good. We did a good job of calibrating, what they were doing. They changed defenses a little bit. And we had really, really solid attacks and a great sense of purpose there. I thought for most of the night, offensively, we were pretty good. I thought certainly in the first half, we had great intentionality. Fourth quarter, especially in the stretch run, really, really good. The third was more of a defensive issue than offense, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good offensive night.
You mentioned Chet did some good things for you guys in the second half of the last game against Portland. Seemed like that carried over tonight. Just what did you see out of him in terms of taking advantage of another game where he has the height advantage?
Yeah, it's going to be important. Teams are going to try to downsize against us when he's at the 5, and even when he's not. When they're not downsized, they might try to put guards on him at times. And so those skills of finding him against the roll, against the switches on his rolls is important for us. And we did a good job of it. We found him. He had that spray out to Isaiah. He had a couple dunks on those plays. AJ found him once. Dub found him once. Shai found him early. So that's important for us. That's a tool that we have to develop because that's a game plan that we see quite a bit as we move through the season.
Coach, obviously you're going to get a lot of back here.
Sorry,
you're going to get a lot of effectiveness out of SGA. But when you're feeding the ball to Chet and he's effective, was there any reason why you didn't feed him the ball more, given how well you played tonight?
I mean, we're not really like a button pushing team, in terms of like, it's this guy's turn, they kind of find that in the flow. Even the first play of the fourth, I think it was, there was a post up, that wasn't a post up play for him. It's just the guys playing basketball. And so, we want to be a team that works together to find the best shot. And there's stretches of the game where some guys are more featured in that than others. But I thought overall offensively, we played pretty connected tonight and played the right way.
Yeah, a great connected performance offensively for this group. I think Coach Dagnall put it kind of perfectly, especially down the stretch in the fourth quarter where we saw so much late game execution. And I love that question from Nick Gallo talking about the points in the paint, because that was a massive factor in this one. The Thunder had a massive lead in paint points in the first half. And in the second half, when the Warriors were starting to make their comeback, you started to see that gap start to really get a little bit tight. The Warriors scoring in the paint as well.
Yeah, you can see just kind of over the 48 minutes, Paris, what the advantage kind of leans towards when you get better shots than your opponent. And look, again, to the Warriors' credit, a lot of it was shot making. They made some tough ones. Again, Pat Spencer, Seth Curry, Pajimski, they all made some tough shots, and to their credit, they hit them. But over the course of a 48-minute game, the efficiency tends to lean towards the teams getting the shots near the rim. And that's where the Thunder just continued to churn out better shots, more efficient offensive possessions. And again, a lot of it had to do with Chet Holmgren, who was extremely good and played big tonight, literally on the inside.
Literally playing big inside for Oklahoma City, finding all of those efficient shots right around the rim, led to the Thunder's 13th consecutive victory, and now 21-1 on this season. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Live, because we got to break down the game of number 2, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 38 points in tonight's matchup. Coming up clutch. What a way to close out this 2-game road trip through the Western Conference. The Thunder with a fourth quarter battle over the Golden State Warriors, walking away victorious 124-112. And after the game, our very own Nick Gallo got to chat with Chet Holmgren. Let's listen in.
Chet, from a mental standpoint, how does this group maintain composure and stay together when they throw a big run at you like that?
Just not running from it, not wanting it. We want team's best, and they gave us our best. They gave us a punch there in the third, and, we responded in the right way. And, a lot of things to clean up, but we got the job done.
It seemed like in that fourth quarter, every time you all touched the paint with the ball, you got something good. Why is that such a big deal for your offense?
We can't just, shoot jump shots with no rim pressure. We got to force other teams to help, maybe give them a chance to make a mistake and get some easy ones. And you can only do that by getting into the paint, getting near the rim, forcing help, and then kicking it out from there. We had good moments, bad moments tonight, but we're going to keep working to do that.
That all flowed into the clutch time where it just seemed like you got everything that you wanted. 4 straight games now with clutch time. What have you learned about just the positions that you want to be in those situations?
We've been in these moments before in really big games against really good teams. So, we kind of know what we need to get to and, how we need to execute. And, tonight was no different. We did a good job, and we just got to continue to do that.
Certainly got your spots and made the plays. Congrats, Chet.
My man, thank you.
You got to love when the Thunder players make sure Nick Gallo is properly accessorized, showing up and interviewing in style. And you know who was playing with some style tonight? It was Chet Holmgren. We talked about him, the way he was able to impact this game very efficiently. The Warriors playing small in this one. Chet had a size advantage and took advantage of it.
Yeah, and I just loved the approach of the game from Chet. He just made such an impact in a variety of ways. He knocked down timely shots when the Thunder needed him. He hit a big one early in the fourth quarter, straightaway 3. I love the way that he went at smaller players in the post. And then this is that big shot that he hit early fourth quarter, and the Thunder kind of needed it to stabilize against a run that the Warriors were putting together. But he also had a great short roll and kick to the corner for Isaiah Joe. So we saw just kind of the variety of development from Chet. Again, that's something Coach Marks talked about with Chet, is that he's still a developing player himself. As good as he is, I mean, he might win Defensive Player of the Year this year. He might be an all-star, but he's still a developing young player.
It's so hard to think about it that way, considering how impactful he's been from the very beginning for Oklahoma City. But still a lot of runway for that young player. All right, he was one of 3 players that scored 20 or more points. That brings us to our forward player of the game, which is the Thunder's leading scorer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 38 points in this one.
On 13 of 21 shooting, hit 5 of 6 from 3. And of course, as SGA SGA often does with them. That one was at the end of a quarter, and then he did it in the fourth quarter as well, down the stretch, getting to his spots. You can just kind of almost sense it, Paris, when he has that moment in mind, when he knows what spot he wants to get to. It's almost like he's playing the shot out in his head, thinking like, all right, this is the one I want to get to right here. It's like he's picking off a menu. I want this mid-ranger right here where I step back. I want this leaner off the dribble right here. It's just amazing how SGA can get to his spots, get what he wants in every game. And I love that as well, that last stat, 0 turnovers. Again, that is one of the most underrated elements of SGA is his ball security. With a player that has the ball in his hands as much as he does, he never gives it away. And any possession that ends with him getting a shot up, it's a pretty good one.
And that's now 4 straight fourth quarters for Shai. 0 turnovers. Wow. That is incredible. We talked about it in the pregame show. The last 3, a lot of efficiency and a lot of ball control as well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so clutch this season in the fourth quarter for Oklahoma City, helping to overcome these Golden State Warriors. Well, the next challenge for Oklahoma City, it's back home inside of Paycom Center as they welcome in the Dallas Mavericks. We'll get you squared away. Everything you need to know about that matchup right after this. OKC puts a bow on this 2-game road trip out west with a great win over the Golden State Warriors. Let's take a look at the next 3 for OKC. Their next matchup going to be at home against the Dallas Mavericks on Friday. That game tips off at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And then Oklahoma City goes out to Salt Lake City for one quick game on the road against the Utah Jazz on Sunday before returning home for an NBA Cup matchup in the quarterfinals against the Phoenix Suns on November 10th. That brings us to our next matchup for Oklahoma City, which is a rematch against the Dallas Mavericks at home inside of Paycom Center, a team that always you have to bring your A game against.
Ton of size.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the first things you think about with the Dallas Mavericks, with what they have with Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. They've just got size. And then Cooper Flagg has been playing great as of late. You can really see that he's the youngest player in the NBA, and he has really started to figure out a few things himself within the Dallas Mavericks system. But that was a very close game, that first one in Dallas. It was a little bit sluggish, a little bit of a grind for the Thunder. But OKC, as we've seen some of these games lately, Paris, they were able to figure out a way down the stretch. Got some big stops when they needed them. It was Isaiah Hartenstein, if you remember, had some huge offensive rebounds. And then that huge right there driving layup that was really kind of the dagger in that.
Yeah, the Thunder, they had a lead. And similar to this game here against the Warriors, they led by as many as 22 in Dallas. They cut that lead to 1 in the fourth quarter. Once again, weathering a lot of storms and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doing what he does best. That's putting points on the board. You see those 23 points he had in that game. So we know that Dallas, they can bring a lot of energy. They can certainly go on a lot of runs. And as you mentioned, they have a lot of size. So what's key for Oklahoma City? Maybe some takeaways from this game here against the Warriors tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that there's a lot that the Thunder can take away and spin forward. Coach Mark talked about it a little bit about, you know, just in these sorts of games where, you know, this happens throughout the NBA all season long to every single team where a 20-point lead can get trimmed down. The 3-point shot is such an electric tool within an NBA game. Somebody knocks down a couple of them, suddenly it gets shrunk down to 11 and you're starting to feel it become a possession game. So, you know, just trying to keep your foot on the gas and just continue to stack those possessions throughout. The Dallas Mavericks have been playing better basketball as of late. Can't take anything for granted. So got to come out with good focus and energy in that one.
Well, the good news is Oklahoma City gets to be in Paycom Center in front of that beautiful Oklahoma City crowd. Loud City certainly going to bring some energy for that game on Friday. Should be a good one inside of Paycom Center. As a reminder, that game tips off at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That is a national exclusive. You'll find it on Amazon Prime on Friday. But then our next broadcast will actually be on Sunday as the Thunder square off against their next opponent, which I am blanking on at the moment. But that'll be our next broadcast for Oklahoma City. A great game inside of this building here tonight and a great opportunity for the Thunder to return home. We also want to shout out to you for watching right now. We know it is late/early in Oklahoma City, a 1 a.m. I think time in Oklahoma City right now. So thank you so much for staying up late with us and tuning in for tonight's matchup against the Golden State Warrior. And what a matchup we had inside of this building. OKC with a battle in the fourth quarter to take down the Warriors. They now have 13 straight wins and a 21-1 record on the season. Next matchup going to be against the Mavs on Friday at 8:30 p.m. on Amazon Prime. But our next matchup going to be against the Jazz on Sunday at 7 p.m. Thunder Live. We'll get you going at 6:30. Until then, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a good night.